The roar of helicopters echoed across the base that afternoon, dust swirling in the hot desert wind as maintenance crews worked tirelessly under the sun. Among them was a young woman, kneeling beside the long frame of an Apache attack helicopter, her hands moving carefully over the mounted machine gun. To most who walked past, she looked like any other quiet mechanic, grease stains on her sleeves, sunburn painting her skin, hair tied tightly beneath her cap. She kept her head down, focused, as though the heavy weapon she was cleaning demanded her full attention. Yet hidden beneath the folds of her uniform was a story that no one around her knew. A story etched into scars, into silence, into the single patch sewn onto her sleeve. It was this patch, an old worn emblem with edges frayed by time, that caught the eye of a pilot passing by. He stopped mid-step, his breath catching in his chest as though he had seen a ghost. For a moment, the busy hum of the base seemed to fade away, the clanging tools and shouting voices silenced. His gaze locked on that patch, and suddenly, memories long buried surged back with crushing force. He froze, unable to move, unable to speak, his eyes filling with something no soldier ever wanted to show in public. Fear, sorrow, and recognition. Friends, before we continue this powerful story, I want to ask you something from the heart. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength hidden inside people the world often overlooks, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Legends Off History. Together, we can keep stories like this alive. The young woman's name was Elena. She wasn't supposed to be here, at least not in the eyes of many who judged her past before knowing her heart. A daughter of a military family, she had grown up with discipline, service, and sacrifice etched into her very blood. But when her father was killed during a night mission overseas, her world collapsed. At 16, she spiraled into a storm of grief and rebellion. She made mistakes, serious ones, that nearly derailed her entire future. For years, she carried the weight of being branded as a failure, someone unworthy of the uniform her father once wore with pride. But fate and her stubborn will to honor her father's memory brought her to the maintenance corps. She wasn't in the spotlight, wasn't on the front lines, yet she worked with quiet devotion, determined that if she couldn't be in the sky, she would make sure those who were had the safest, strongest machines possible. That patch on her sleeve wasn't standard issue. It was a unit emblem, a rare one belonging to a rescue division disbanded after a tragic operation years ago. Few people recognized it anymore, but those who did never forgot. That night, when her father's helicopter had gone down, when flames lit up the horizon and soldiers fought desperately to pull survivors from the wreckage, that patch had been part of the story. Elena wore it not as a decoration but as a memory, stitched from the one torn from her father's uniform the night they found him. The pilot who froze at the sight of it had been there. His name was Captain Harris, and he had flown cover for that doomed mission. For years he had carried the guilt of watching comrades fall, of knowing he had lived while others, including Elena's father, had not. Seeing the patch on her arm was like being pulled back into that inferno, like hearing again the desperate cries over the radio. And now here it was, worn by a young woman who reminded him so much of the man he once admired. As Elena cleaned the weapon, she felt his eyes on her. She glanced up briefly, puzzled, then returned to her work. She was used to people not noticing her at all, used to being invisible in the shadow of louder, stronger, more celebrated soldiers. But Harris couldn't look away. The patch spoke louder than words. It told him who she was even before he asked. In the days that followed, something changed. Harris began to watch her more closely, not out of suspicion, but out of a growing respect. He saw how she worked late into the night, carefully checking every bolt, every wire, every weapon system. She never cut corners, never complained. There was pain in her silence, but also strength. Slowly, whispers spread through the base about the girl with the patch, the one who worked as if her very soul depended on it. Then came the day everything changed. A sudden call came in, an emergency mission, unexpected and dangerous. Harris and his crew had only minutes to prepare. The Apache she had been working on was assigned to him, and as he strapped in, he thought again of the patch. For the first time in years, he felt something shift inside. Not dread, not guilt, but trust. He trusted her work as he once trusted her father's presence in the sky. Hours later, when Harris and his team returned from the mission alive despite the chaos they faced, He climbed down from the cockpit and walked straight to her. He didn't thank her with words. Instead, he simply saluted, his hand trembling slightly, his eyes locked on hers. Around them, soldiers watched in silence, stunned. Salutes were earned, not given lightly, and here was a decorated Apache pilot, honoring a quiet mechanic no one had truly seen until now. Elena stood frozen, her chest tightening as tears stung her eyes. For the first time, someone saw her not as a mistake, not as a shadow of her father, but as a hero in her own right. The salute spread like fire across the base. Others followed, pilots, crewmen, even commanders, each one stepping forward one by one to salute her. It wasn't just for her skill, but for the legacy she carried, the perseverance she lived every day, and the reminder that every soldier, no matter where they served, mattered. That night, Elena sat alone under the stars, the patch warm beneath her fingers. She thought of her father, of the day she almost lost herself, of the endless road that brought her here. For the first time, she felt peace. She wasn't forgotten. She wasn't lost. She was part of something greater, and in that moment, she knew she had finally honored her father's memory. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel the weight of sacrifice, resilience, and second chances, I ask you to please like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to Legends of History. Your support helps us bring more untold stories to life. Special request to comment. Tell us below, what does true strength mean to you?